Welcome to Needham School Spotlight. I'm Dan Goodykantz, Superintendent of Schools. Needham High School is known for its many successes, and that certainly is not accidental. Talented and energetic administrators manage and lead academic and programs and help the school grow and improve. Today I'd like to welcome Patrick Gallagher, Department Head for English, John Shea, Department Head for Mathematics, Elizabeth Zajac, our new World Language Department Head, and Steve Plaskow, our Department Head for Social Studies at Needham High School. Thank you to all of you for joining me. Elizabeth, you're brand new this year.
I'm delighted to be part of the Needham Schools. It's going great so far.
So tell us real quickly, where did you come from? How did you land at Needham High School and the Needham Public Schools, because you're K-12 in responsibility?
Well, I'm coming to Needham from the Boston schools. I had been at the John D. O'Brien School of Math and Science. I was in California and New York before that. And it's been a wonderful start to the school year so far. We're doing a lot of exciting things in the elementary, middle, and high school program across all of our languages. We're off to a great start. In the elementary program in particular, we're revisiting some of our curriculum. We're seeing a lot of improvement in our middle school students' acquisition of language after having started in the elementary program, and it's bubbling straight up to the high school.
Wow. Well, lots of activity. I want to hear a little bit more about some of the initiatives. Patrick and John and Steve, you're in a way old hands at Needham High School, and you really, in my time and watching the work that you've been doing, really have a couple things have happened. The three of you, and soon to be Elizabeth, really hired some really hardworking, smart, talented people to really impact learning in Needham Public Schools. And each one of you is really very much involved in developing curriculum and programs. I was just wondering to share with the community, what are, maybe for all of us, what are some of those initiatives, some of those curricular initiatives that are happening right now that you might want to share with the community?
I'll start. I was, as you know, Dan, very fortunate to inherit a very devoted approach to a diverse English curriculum, and a lot of teachers and administrators in the English department who preceded me really made a priority of the English classroom being a place in which students could explore texts and characters whose experiences and ideas modeled their own. And this year we've been very proud to advance on that work by adding a number of new titles to our curriculum and devoting a substantial portion of our professional development time to working collaboratively to keep up with some of the evolving ideas and topics that are relevant to adolescents' lives and experiences and perspectives. And it's challenging work, it's meaningful work. We've had great input and participation from student leaders in developing this curriculum, and we're excited about how it adds a new dimension to the work that we've been doing for some time.
How long have we been doing that, and what happened recently this year? And
I'll start, and I'll let Steve sort of take over. We modeled it after an approach other school systems were doing. This is our third year. So the first year we read a Sherman Alexie text, The Absolute Diary of a Part-Time Indian. And we'd read that 9 through 12. And then last year we did Eleanor and Park with all of our students. And then at cabinet level, that really, the idea evolved from being an English-specific initiative to really a community initiative. And so Steve, who's the chair of our Culture and Climate Committee, brought this sort of developing initiative to the Culture and Climate Committee, and I think I speak confidently for everyone that what we experienced this year was a monumental step forward in terms of the impact.
And this was part of the one-day initiative.
Right.
What was it all about,
So
Steve?
what we did is we took the spirit of an all-school read and tried to model it off of some work that Newton South had done last year, in which they built the book into really a day of learning. In which they offered about 11 or 12 seminars, I think, for students to attend, which was a really interesting idea and worked well with some of our goals to develop our students' cultural proficiency, to get students engaged in conversations around culture and identity and community. And so what we did is we sort of took that idea and blended it a little bit with an experience that I had in a previous district in creating a seminar day, which was a larger scale endeavor than what South had taken on. So we ended up having 38 or 39 different seminars that students were able to select. And the goal of all those seminars was to connect with the book and to connect with a common story that we were all familiar with, but really to have conversations about community, to have conversations about identities in the building that we may not be aware of, experiences in the building that we just don't know much about. Students, we had a group of students that developed a great theme. The title of the book was The Other Westmore. The students came up with the theme of "There's more to me than what you see," which is really perfect for
And
the
that was
spirit.
That was
their brainchild. They did a great job with that, and we used that as a great way of focusing these seminars around getting to know things about people that you just wouldn't know otherwise from our daily interactions. And I think that was a great impetus to building community.
And all the departments and all the teachers were involved in this initiative. Yeah, I know I visited for some of the activities, and it was really quite powerful, and I've heard some of the students subsequently talk about it. John, when I think about some of the initiatives and program growth that all of you shepherd and really lead, I know that math sometimes is a moving target, but actually there's some really significant work going on at the middle school that will impact or is impacting what's going on at the high school. Can you talk a little bit about what that's all about?
Sure. So myself and the middle school coordinator have been working really closely in terms of what the curriculum at the middle school level will look like and how that will transfer over to the high school level. So this past summer, a group of the members of our department got together to sort of start to not really start, but to sort of really formalize a lot of the work that we've been going through for the last several years with the adoption of the Common Core and the state frameworks. And we've gone from quite a bit of soul searching in terms of what we want our curriculum to, the shape and form of our curriculum, to sort of thinking about, like, do we want it to be an integrated approach or a traditional approach, or to try to blend the two together. So the work that we did this summer is to sort of prepare for the students that are coming in September. And so the proposals are that the students that are coming through will be taking, we're proposing a class called Math 9, so that all freshmen will be coming in taking a form of Math 9 at some level, which will then sort of be aligned to the Common Core standards for Algebra 1, which is really currently what we teach in Algebra 2. So to try to not muddy the waters, and with the curriculum, pretty much what we teach right now is aligned to the Common Core standards as they currently exist, but we've decided to sort of try to level the playing field in terms of naming of the course and try to give the kids the similar experience regardless of the level that they take, and then just sort of as they progress through high school.
And I'm understanding that at the middle level that the math program is really setting the bar high for students in 7th and 8th grade in particular, that really they're coming in, a lot more is expected of our students, and so that will impact certainly what's happening, aside from the titles of courses, but really will impact the teaching and learning environment at Needham High School. That's
For sure. I think the Common Core in general has set the bar really high for kids in terms of what they're expected to know and be able to do. And I do think as the program progresses and evolves through the years, I think students will have a lot more opportunities that otherwise they may not, depending upon their level of math that they enter in through high school. So whereas right now some students they do tend to get stuck at a certain point if they sort of haven't entered at a certain point. So I think this will allow them to sort of branch out a little bit more as they advance through high school in their junior and senior year.
You know, program growth and development is something you just mentioned as you were as I welcomed you a few moments ago. We've implemented now a 1 through 12 Spanish language model, I should say, a world language model. What does that mean to Needham High School? What does it mean to our kids as they acquire these skills and this content earlier and earlier?
The curriculum is evolving. Right now we're trying to get a better feel for what will happen after a student accomplishes AP, for example. If they're starting in the 1st grade, whereas in years past they were starting in year 6, they have a much longer continuum to acquire the language, but maybe they're ready to take the AP and can be very successful at the 10th grade. What happens then at the 11th and 12th grade? So that's a question we're trying to unpack. in the immediate sense, we're working on the national standards from ACTFL, and we're focusing on proficiency and trying to get a balance for accuracy and proficiency. We have the national exams that we're looking forward to providing for our students in the spring term. That's an accuracy focus. The AP exam balances accuracy and proficiency, but the national standards really call for proficiency. So we're all over the continuum. And trying to get a curriculum that celebrates that and that emphasizes culture, and not culture as it stands on its own, but all of the South American countries, and culture as it ties into history, and culture as it ties into poetry and music and the arts. And then also
Well, and
having
I must say, I love the idea of thinking about it, the interdisciplinary opportunities that exist with world language. So it's great to
we're
hear that.
excited about it.
Yeah. There's no question that you're wrestling with this program, and that you're saying to me, I think this is a problem. I think it's a good problem to have, that we may have 10th graders who are ready for AP Spanish,
That's
and
great.
then what do we
Yeah.
do with them? That's a great problem to have. Maybe outreach to colleges and dual enrollment or whatever might happen in junior and senior year, but I think it's a great problem to have. So you all have these different programs going on at Needham High School. You are the ones who are leading them, but to make them a reality, you've got to have superb people in the classroom. I'm curious to know, as you're thinking about the people that you want to bring on board to Needham High School and to work with our students, what are some of the qualities, what are some of the characteristics, what are some of the skill set or that you think about, and I'm sure they're different needs. What are some of the things you're thinking about when you're looking at a new English teacher, for example, Patrick?
Passion, certainly for the discipline, but perhaps more so for working with our student population. And I think that is a personal quality that often shines through in our interview process. One of the things that's really refreshing about the Needham process is how thorough and detailed it is, but in that capacity, it really enables us to get a sense of who the people are that are interested in working with our young people, and to factor that in prominently in terms of bringing someone into the classroom has been, I think, a huge reason why I've been able to bring on such dynamic and innovative and collaborative and kind and generous people. And as we all know, you get good people and get out of their way as best you can. And I think that really that ability to forge meaningful connections with adolescents is critical to success in the classroom.
What are some other qualities that you look for?
For me, it's the teacher's ability to connect with the students, because I feel that students connect with math on a variety of levels and at a variety of point in time. Students can struggle in their earlier grades, and then all of a sudden they reach a point where it clicks with them, and they kind of they understand that. So it's the teacher's ability to inspire the students. Their ability to work with the students to sort of understand that you may not get it right the first time, but to sort of persevere and work through that. A teacher that can have an innovative approach to teaching and learning, and I do feel that all of the members of our department have many different talents that they lend to their students and to each other to sort of foster this learning environment where students can thrive and practice and grow and learn, and that the teacher's ability to self-reflect and sort of look at themselves in terms of what do I need to do to improve, and how can I better get my students to perform.
Say, I want to get around to everyone, but a little bit more with that self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? I mean, folks who may be listening to this conversation think, you hire great teachers and you kind of get out of their way and let them go. And why does someone have to reflect on what they're doing? What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is the teacher sort of thinking about how a particular lesson went that day, or how they might approach a particular topic or unit, and how they might work with their colleagues to sort of make that the math a little bit more accessible. To sort of think about the formative assessments that they give the students, not only like how do the students do, but what could I do to improve the students' ability to understand that material. So I think there's many facets to the self-reflection, and in addition to that, the evaluation process allows for the teachers to connect with us to sort of kind of debrief the lesson and to sort of talk about what went well and what it might look different the next period or the next day or the next year.
So really to be thoughtful about it, talk it through with one of you or with a colleague and reflect on what worked well, what could be different, and how we can grow and improve. I mean, I hear a lot about that is the work of leaders at Needham High School. What are some qualities in world language? We have different languages themselves, and what are some other skill sets or characteristics you look for, Elizabeth?
Well, I think that in addition to passion and being reflective, I would also add flexibility. Because all of our students learn in different ways and at different paces, especially with second language acquisition. But they didn't all read the Berenstain Bears in the same way on the same day as first and second graders, and they won't all acquire language in the same way. So we have to be flexible in our practice, willing to make mistakes. I mean, we're always trying to find a new way to meet the needs of our kids, and sometimes we make mistakes, or they're not really mistakes, but they're growth opportunities, and teachers, that reflective element is so important because we want to meet the needs of our kids.
One additional thing that is valuable for me to see is sort of how a teacher frames a lesson. How do they present the material in such a way that really engages kids and gets them excited about the topic? With history, there's lots of different frames that you could decide to use with a particular lesson. Does the teacher have an interesting approach? And then in the follow-up, are they reflective in understanding which kids may have been more inclined to dig in on that approach, and how the approach might have been able to have been adjusted to draw in different kids or to look at different types of learners. So those are just some additional specific features that I might look at.
The other part of this is all of you being able to trust that once you brought somebody on board, a little bit of guidance, but that they will not be by themselves. They'll be with great colleagues. But you really want to be able to trust them to take some chances and to make some mistakes, because that's all part of it. I find that it is very hard in the Needham Public Schools to say to teachers it's okay to make mistakes,
Right.
as it is with our students too. And I'm not sure that everyone always believes that, because a mistake sometimes means that you failed or you've done something wrong. And it does involve failure, and it does mean sometimes doing something wrong, but it's the only way you can grow. And I think the more that we can emphasize that and allow folks to know it's okay to try something, even though it will be imperfect, is really key. When I think about Needham High School and all of your departments working together, and I want to learn a little bit more about how you do work together. I know that there's you have cabinet meetings and department meetings. Before I get into that, though, one of the areas I know that the high school is getting into for the entire school is the Personalized Learning Initiative, the one-to-one program, beginning with next year's 9th graders. What is it, first of all, and what does it mean to your program and your department? So, Steve, maybe what is the one-to-one initiative that's going to be launched with the 9th grade next year?
So the one-to-one is really for each student to have their own device, laptop device, so that they can access the internet all throughout the day and access online platforms that will enhance the learning environment that we currently have. It's a growing initiative around many towns in the area, and I think we're getting on board at the right time in terms of our teachers have been having access to more and more technology in the last number of years. I think our adoption of the Google suite of apps has been really sort of helpful in pushing that forward. I think a lot of our teachers, an increasing number of our teachers, are using Google Classroom on a regular basis, are using things like Google Sites as a way of not only supplementing information but to deliver instruction. That, I think, being combined with new teaching techniques related to blended learning environment, flipped classroom, are things that teachers have been learning about as part of professional development for a number of years, and I think teachers have been experimenting with that. So I think there's great foundation for this work to continue and be built upon. I know in my department, for example, we have a number of short videos that teachers have created, mostly around specific instruction to skill work, which is great because they can be shared amongst teachers. It's the same skill regardless of who your teacher is. It might be Mr. Brook doing a video that Mr. Walker can use with his kids as well.
So these are videos on content?
These are videos on skills
Okay.
that the students will use regardless
Okay.
of the content. Some of us, myself, I've created a number of content-based videos, short in length, that students can watch for homework. They're AP psych videos, so they work well with the other two teachers using them as well. And we're able to just embed them right into the Google site for the course, and students can use that site to navigate their work. In fact, parents or other members of the community, if they wanted to, it's just a website, could sort of follow along on the general trajectory of the course.
How are your teachers getting prepared for this? I mean, we have these these eighth graders, the current eighth graders, who have been part of the Personalized Learning Initiative at the middle school for 3 years. Of course, they've been using iPads. It isn't so much the tool as it is the methodology, I suppose. How are they getting prepared for these students who are coming in with a certain expectation or a certain skill set?
Sure. So in a couple different ways. Fortunately, I've got a couple teachers in my department who've been participants in pilot programs. Greater Boston Project has used the iPads since its inception. The Sophomore Academy this year is a one-to-one academic environment, and the 3 teachers who participate in those 2 courses have taken on a role as departmental leaders. We also have, for the past few years, had Chrome carts available, and when I think about the opportunity that this initiative presents for our instruction of critical writing in particular, its potential is really huge. Oftentimes in an English classroom, especially as kids get older, you get a paper the day it's due, and here you go, Dr. Gudikans, here's my paper on Hamlet, and your capacity as a teacher to influence the process that students implement in composing that argument is limited. With the devices, with our Google Suite, teachers can be involved in every step of that process in terms of helping students, looking at revision history, fostering collaboration between students in meaningful ways, delivering feedback electronically in real time as kids are writing to increase the likelihood of them adapting those suggestions to being clearer in their expression and sort of more definitive in their viewpoints. And another piece is just the responsibility of using technology appropriately in education. It's a great message for us as a school community.
Well, the
to
whole
uphold.
business of digital citizenship
Absolutely.
is really, really key. I mean,
Yeah.
we just have to, read the paper or turn on the news or
Right.
look at social media to know how incredibly important that is.
Yeah.
To do.
So we're excited.
And I think that piece that you mentioned about being able to see the process a little bit more as a teacher than you could in the past is really a significant component. Again, teachers are able to redesign how they're using class time, and one of the things you can do with the ability for students to be doing the work in the class is to workshop things. So you're actually helping the students through the process as they have difficult questions and decisions to make about their own work. You're able to be right there with them, coaching them up and helping them refine how to make those decisions and how to make choices in their work.
How is this one-to-one initiative with math or foreign language? How is it going to be impactful?
So I think for math, the one-to-one devices are really meant for as a tool for exploration, to sort of gather data. Just sort of thinking about a couple things. We've been, the last few years, all of our geometry students have been given a license to Geometry Sketchpad, which is a dynamic piece of software. However, now with the idea that the devices just need internet access, a lot of the teachers have been using a tool that's from Google called GeoGebra. So it's allowed us to sort of explore more web-based tools. The teachers tend to use the devices. We have several pilots going on in the math department as well. They use it as a means to collect feedback from students, and there's different applications online, such as Kahoot, Poll Everywhere. We've just been introduced to another assessment tool called Formative, which has been probably the most user-friendly way for us to be able to collect data from students from a math perspective.
And would you say, and Elizabeth, in world language as well, that teachers are, some perhaps a little anxious about this, but are on board and working toward recognizing they might make some mistakes, but that this is kind of the way things are moving forward, and folks are getting ready, and you're preparing them for it.
Yes.
Yeah. That is one of many things going on with all of you. I know interdisciplinary learning is another area where the high school has been taking the lead through the Greater Boston Project and the African American History class. Is that the name of the course?
African American Studies.
African American Studies, and some science classes, environmental science, and just some other opportunities to really break down some of the traditional silos, which I'm convinced we need to do more and more of in education. to plan these initiatives, to work with folks, you meet with them. How does the high school cabinet, all the department heads, what does that look like? Where does that begin and end, Patrick?
So we meet once a cycle. It's a little challenging because many of the four of us still, or actually Elizabeth, you don't teach, but still, but the four, or Jen and John and Steve and I still teach. So we come together as a group. It's directors, it's department chairs, it's assistant principals, and our principal, Mr. Seacott, and we meet once a cycle, and we have I would say a robust agenda, and oftentimes which exceeds our, we have more to do than we have time to do.
On here.
Right.
And so it's been a great opportunity to work collaboratively and also to support one another professionally and personally, because there are a lot of, as John said before, a lot of moving pieces at work, and just to be able to have a built-in opportunity to work with colleagues to help troubleshoot is huge.
So that's at that's at the high level, getting the department heads and leaders in the school together. In your program areas, you meet monthly, and student and staff also meet weekly on different committees. But
Right.
you meet monthly with your staff.
Right, we meet monthly with our staff, and we have a specific agenda that we talk about in September to sort of lay out our goals for the year as a department and try to move those initiatives along. And the teachers are fantastic on trying to help focus in on just those goals for that year, to keep that a sort of focused process. They end up using a lot of their common planning time on Friday mornings, sort of moving the needle for their own work with those particular goals, which has been sort of really fantastic. In addition to sort of the formal aspects of cabinet, one of the great things that I personally get out of it is sort of the informal support that you get when you have a problem and you're able to go and talk with John or Jen or Elizabeth or Patrick or any of the other leaders in the building.
Well, I think that's what's one of the things I've learned a lot about the four of you and your colleagues at Needham High School, administrators and teachers, and then we have to devote a whole segment to talking about our unbelievable students. But it's this business of collaboration. Unfortunately, our time has run out, but I have several more questions. We're going to have you come back again and talk. I'm thinking about. I'm hearing a lot about program growth and how you really strive to hire great teachers to really impact learning, and that you focus, and this district spends a lot of time thinking about who will be in the classroom and then supporting them. I'm hearing that some of the qualities of passion, reflection, and flexibility are key to you as you hire these teachers for program growth. I'm hearing that the Personalized Learning Initiative will kick off next year for the ninth graders, and that teachers are eager to get going with this, and will learn along the way. And then finally, really kind of the umbrella for all of it is this deep sense of collaboration that I sense from all of you, among yourselves, but also within your teachers, that I think you inspire, and that mindset of collaboration is really key to success for Needham High School and to move forward. So thanks for joining me, and I look forward to learning more as the year goes on.